Good morning, Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Okay.
Oh, no.
It's the holiday season.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Deselect the audio files so they don't no longer play in a row, and you can just say,
It's the holiday season.
all right, here we are. Welcome to the show. 3:33 a.m. Is there a significance to that? 9 December 2021. And, baby, it's cold outside. How cold is it? 28 degrees, 27 degrees Fahrenheit. So, below 0 Celsius. They're still saying Saturday's going to be 63 degrees, though. I don't know. Maybe that's the cue.
The Weather Watch forecast.
Let's just chop right into it. As you can see, the title of this show is Strange. I think it was Strange Things Are Happening, or It Has Begun. The wind patterns have, cloud patterns, wind, whatever you want to call them, have changed a lot over the past several days, and even since yesterday. Yesterday we had like 3 distinct, groupings of clouds, almost like jet streams crossing west to east across the former United States. And now we just see a lot of individual groupings, kind of acting on their own, strangely. I mean, there's still slightly a southerly flow coming over Mexico but now it's moved pretty much almost to close to the midsection of the Baja Peninsula. And that stuff is flowing over Texas and Louisiana and, just trying to make its way to some of the Gulf states. And that same pattern, though, is being pushed by whatever's coming off of the Pacific. Somewhere around that area where you've got that cluster of earthquakes that we'll get into a little bit later off of the West Coast. They're still happening, I believe, or as of, several hours ago. And, that thing in the center of the former U.S., looks like it wants to spin, but it's being pushed so much that it just can't form into any kind of, it's like a comma-shaped thing that, like, it wanted to be a storm, but there's, I guess, the wind is pushing it so much from the west that it just can't seem to curl around. But it looks like it wants to. Looks like there's lake effect snow occurring, and everything from yesterday seems to have pushed off into the Atlantic, and there's some just clouds just exploding out there in the Atlantic, the South Atlantic. Well, it's not really, that's truly not the South Atlantic. The South Atlantic is down by South America way. That's just the Atlantic South, eastward of Florida. If I sound like I'm talking slow, I am. Most of the high mountainous areas at this point are starting to see some snow, and it won't be long before there's ski season, begins. I'm sure they're making snow in some of the ski resorts now, and if not, they will be in the next week or so. So basically, in my neck of the woods, in the mid-Atlantic states, it's going to be a cold day, staying in the 30s and not getting above freezing overnight. But with, we'll do the weekend forecast tomorrow, but just a preview of it is that Friday is going to be a little bit warmer, low 50s, and the overnight 45. Saturday's the strange day. It's supposed to rain and get up to 63, but overnight it's supposed to go down below freezing. And then Sunday we're back down into 30s for the high in the day, and 30 degrees below freezing as the low. So that's
the Weather Watch forecast.
And you can just backtrack on that and take a look at your neck of the woods and kind of get a feel for whether it's going to be cloudy. I still find that map to be one of my favorites because you can kind of see the city centers through the lights, the cloud movements, patterns that kind of show what's heading your way or what's over top. That again, that's pretty much. It's not live, but it was. It's from this morning, and it is 3:39 a.m. Eastern time, so it's still this morning. That coffee is hot. And I am not awake. I'm wearing you could see the antlers there, I believe. Yeah, they do that. This is shirt over shirt type of idea. Double shirt. It's a double shirt type of time. I moved the girl over to the world. If you're watching this on a TV, you may not even be able to see her because some of the left-hand side of the screen, a quarter inch or so cuts off. But it only seems to happen on some TVs and to some channels. I don't know. There's nothing I can do about it. It looks fine on the internet. If you view on a desktop or a laptop or something like that. As far as a smartphone is concerned, I was glad to hear some, from one of those tech guru types on YouTube that, the iPhone 14 might be the last iPhone from Apple because there's so many other devices in the pipeline. And I've been saying this all along. It's like the era of the smartphone is ending. It's got about a year, with the hangers on. It's got like a year to 18 months. I mean, there'll be people still producing them because there'll be diehards, like there always are for certain technology, right? And then certain people just hang on to stuff. I mean, look, I got a phone here that's 60 years old. It still works. Still works. Just shows to show how good technology was back then. But let's take a look at some of the news. That's the news. That's the news they want to tell you. This is the story I started to say inside. I'm going to have trouble talking today because it's just so early. And I didn't do my la-ti-ta, ti-ta, ti-ta. Excuse me. Boy, is it bright and white between the hat and this thing on the screen. NPR, geez, I never quote them. Anyway, this was something from like yesterday, but it's still, this is kind of the story because I looked and I noticed that, I was just trying to find something that was from today, and I found in my searches, things that were as recent as several hours ago. But they're the type of websites when you go to, they got a million things popping up, and you've got to subscribe to this, turn on cookies, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, somehow I managed to navigate this NPR site, which just basically took this image from the, USGS or one of those taxpayer-funded sites. So they don't own this image, not even a photo. And a swarm of more than 50 earthquakes has been detected off the Oregon coast in the past 24 hours, prompting seismologists to reassure Pacific residents that they're not in danger. Now, think about that sentence. Now, if that might cut off, this is on the very bottom of the thing. In fact, we don't need to advertise NPR, so let me just get rid of that. So you can read this thing maybe here. Okay. Now, look how this paragraph, this sentence, is how they can contradict themselves in one sentence now. These guys, the art of this. A swarm of more than 50 earthquakes has been detected off the coast in the past 24 hours, prompting seismologists to reassure Pacific Northwest residents that they're not in danger. Of course, prompting them. In other words, what are you trying to say? Prompting them that it's like time to lie, right? See, this is the thing. There used to be some song, strange things are happening. It's from the 1970s. I don't know. It's weird stuff. Goofy things. There was Red Skelton, and then there was some other guy named Red something. Short guy, I can't think of him. Acted in a couple of those weird movies. I don't know. He wasn't of Red Skelton's era. He was like on the Merv Griffin show. Anyway, there's an awful lot of strange things happening right now because the Earth is going through some serious Earth changes. And it seems to be things are moving at a fast clip right now. And the idea is that if there's a swarm of 50 earthquakes along a fracture zone, what do they reassure? This whole idea, prompting seismologists to reassure, they don't know anything. They don't know anything. It should be prompting seismologists to alert residents of a possible, and they could say yet remote, danger. Right? That would seem to be the more logical thing to say. There's a good possibility that, these things happens. We get swarms of volcanoes or earthquakes in various places. And they don't necessarily amount to anything. There's swarms around Yellowstone all the time, and for decades, and people, in the super volcano that they've been, has not, become activated again. So, but to reassure residents that they're not in danger is ridiculous. They are in there's a possibility they're in danger. The likelihood is, could be a minimum. And then it goes on to say, this fault zone is very active, but it, and then blah, blah, blah. 50 earthquakes hit off Oregon coast, the headline, but scientists say there are no great shakes. That's a lie. I looked into this. There were several like that were 5.8, 5.5s, approaching 6. Earthquakes, that when an earthquake increases, it's like an exponential thing, by the way. And while a 6.0 earthquake is not a big deal, or 5.8, these are very close to the surface, like within 10 miles or something like that. And so, if by chance, they seem to have been going from, they started swarming in the 4s, then the low 5s, and then they were starting to move into the higher 5s, mid to high 5s. High 5, man. High 5. the point is, if they start getting into the low sixes and mid sixes and they're that close to the surface, you could be looking at a tsunami. It's pretty close to the coast, right? Or this could be the harbinger of something else. These are along a fracture zone. This Cascadia area, the Ring of Fire. There's active volcanoes right now, and we can get into that. Let me get up to that point if I could find it. I also have this. I put this up in replace of La Palma. I'm a little bit slow today. Here, you don't need to see my full face. This is from the Smithsonian. And like I said, so today I'm going with sources that that you believe in. I don't necessarily, follow these people, okay? Like NPR or the Smithsonian and stuff. But I mean, because the Smithsonian's as bad as the Vatican. They have all this stuff hidden in their archives, right? And that's not some like Indiana Jones, hide the Ark of the Covenant, type of thing. No, that's fact. I used to live and work in D.C. I used to go to the Smithsonian all the time. I used to talk to people down there and stuff. And because I was just a free spirit, free rider. I was living in Capitol Hill, and I was, I had time on my hands. I worked for Roy Cohn. Used to handle, when he'd come into town, I told this story. It's in my books and stuff. My job basically was I lived in a Capitol Hill townhouse very close to, the action. And when he was in town, I used to basically take him over to, some, appointment or, something like that, with some government official, or sometimes there'd be like senators and congressmen over at the house and stuff. And I'd organize the event to make sure it was properly catered or what have you. It's the kind of stuff I used to do. But my time was my own, because sometimes he wouldn't even come in once. It was usually once a month, but sometimes he'd skip a month. You know what I mean? So I was just, I did whatever hell I wanted to. There was a swimming pool attached to that house. I mean, that was really good living for a young guy out of college, interning, hired by some law firm, Connecticut, that he was affiliated with. It was before he lost his license because of his own foolishness. Had a real Warhol there, though, on the wall. But anyway, but the Smithsonian, I used to get down there a lot because I'm interested in all kinds of stuff like that. So overall, 48 volcanoes were in continuing eruption status, and this article hasn't been updated since October, as of October 15th. Okay. But I've been keeping track of this stuff. And if you look at this, under eruption stop date, it's like October 14th, but this is saying as of October 15th. And you see in parentheses, continuing further all the way down the line. And you see Kilauea there in Hawaii. Yeah, I showed you a picture of that yesterday. That's active. La Palma, of course, we've been covering that every day. In fact, this will be our La Palma. This is instead of me showing you another picture of La Palma, I think you've seen enough of that. And then there's various other ones. The when you see United States, that's up by Alaska. But Chile, Argentina, Costa Rica, that Sitkin one, is still happening. And, of course, the list goes way down. There's 48. I just, put the top, top of the list here, just to give you an idea. And there's a map I showed before with the so-called Ring of Fire. And some of these volcanoes going off, are quite active, not just like the usual activity. Like we've seen with La Palma, we've seen these ridiculous jets of lava being shot into the sky. So, this is of concern. So when you have swarms of earthquakes, in these, in the Ring of Fire, you have increased volcanic activity, worldwide. There was like this, I saw some video of some like little mini tsunami in Russia yesterday. You've seen, the various flooding events, the crazy weather patterns, and even some of the stuff we see here, it's, we're in a state, there's some earth changes going on. And, none of these things have ever been pushed with CO2, and this flies in the face of all these. So for some reason, these bureaucrats, they get together, and these governments, and they pass these, mandates, policies, laws, and they're around things like CO2 and all this other kind of stuff. It's not climate crisis. It's like Earth crisis, kind of like out of like a DC comic, story. And I don't mean Washington, D.C. I mean like DC Comics, as in the comic book, Superman, Supergirl, and that kind of thing. Green Arrow. And, and this is, we have a weakening magnetic field. That's not CO2 related. Increased volcanism. That's not CO2 related. Increased earthquake activity. Not CO2 related. Do you understand? But, they'll hold these meetings, and all these heads of states get together, and it's a big media event, and they scare the children with them, and are changing textbooks for something that's like a trace CO2, which is like a trace gas in the atmosphere. I keep jackhammering to you. But meanwhile, the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, right? Cosmic rays are coming in. The sun is going through some serious changes. These are apparent on not just here, but on the other planets in our solar system. So clearly the sun is having some effect on this. This is some kind of solar effect. It's not just affecting the planet Earth. What was the title of this show? Like, where the hell's the title card? Long Ago Tomorrow. We'll get into that. And beyond it, it has begun. The future becomes the past. I tweeted a moment ago, or texted, or chatted, or whatever. I don't look at the chat. I think there's a way of detaching that. I think there is. Let me see. Pop out chat. Let's see what happens when I do that. Okay. Welcome to... Yeah. You could pop out chat. For some reason, it didn't show my thing, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not a big chat person to begin with. I can't even see the chat right now. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. So let's just go through some of the other quick things so we get them out of the way. Bitcoin again, 516 million results for one answer. Yeah, I'm like, I'm like kind of almost goofy. I'm tired, but I'm not tired. Woke up at 2:30, went to bed around 6:30 or something like that. That's like 8 hours of sleep. I mean, it's just the time. It's the darkness, I guess. Maybe that's good why it's bright here. Sorry for my mustache. I get coffee on it. It's my thing. I've had a mustache most of my life. Anyway, one day This is just one day. I wasn't thinking when I did this. I usually do like a month to show a trend. But yesterday it was 50. Today it's 49, down a couple, 200 points, right? But overall, we're still talking about it being down. Like people over the past month or so, people lost 25% if they invested a month ago. And like I was saying yesterday, anything digital, crypto, even the stock market these days, it's all tied into electronics. And all you need is a little CME or something from the sun. And we're seeing all those crazy earth changes now. Or an earthquake that takes out, the power grid. A little mini tsunami like they had before in the Pacific Northwest. Right? Knocks out a major city. Right? You know how long it takes to put a city back, get a city back and its infrastructure back up and running? And that's assuming you survive. See, I like to talk about these things in terms of realistic, not fear-mongering, okay? I mean, we leave this to the mainstream media and politicians and the bureaucrats to do the fear-mongering, scare the crap out of people. What I'm trying to say is that, these things are the things that are really happening, all right? There really is a sun in the sky, and it really is, affecting our planet. Okay. And if you're putting your money into like cryptocurrencies and day trading, and you're worried about paying for a VPN because you think you're worried about hackers and stuff like that, man, are you like so out in left field and so out of touch with reality and what's really going on this planet? It's a planet. Okay? It's a planet, and it's full of trees, and they need CO2. It's like everything is backwards and upside down right now. Everything is wrong. And people look at that and they're like, this guy is a nutbag, right? I know that. I know that's what you're thinking. But you don't know because you don't know what you don't know over here. You don't know what you don't know. All right? But everything you know basically is wrong. Because everything's backwards, upside down, twisted, inside out. You're just simply being lied to consistently. By people who are so surface, narcissistic sociopaths, psychopaths, so self-centered and superficial that they have no idea of what I'm talking about either. They can't see beyond the balance in their electronic ledger that says that they're a billionaire. And the same electronic ledger that can be, wiped out, with a simple outcropping, outburst by the sun, or a simple storm that takes down one of these primitive power grids that we have in most parts of this country. Telephone poles, right? But nobody uses telephones anymore. But that's what what a telephone pole is, right? These power lines. The internet in most places is brought to your house by a wire, and then it's Wi-Fi within your house. A pole goes knocked down, you lose your internet, right? I had this one thing, I don't know when it was, a few shows ago, how fragile we are. Fragile. Must be Italian. Fragile. That movie. I never really enjoyed that movie. I don't know how it ever became like a cult thing. I tried actually watching a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life last night out of total boredom. So I watched a little bit of the early part, because I was fixating on Donna Reed at that point when she was just this young beauty. She was really, when she was young, she was kind of cute, and I'll watch a movie like that when they have like a living doll in it, and I was just fixating on her face and her skin and stuff, just really looking at looking at her, objectifying her, right? And then I guess it got into the point of and I fast forwarded through the entire movie until the very end. And then at the very end of the movie, when she was standing by the Christmas tree, like where Jimmy Stewart and he was holding his little kid, and the bell was ringing, and goes, "Daddy, I heard that anytime a bell rings, an angel gets its wings." And Jimmy Stewart's like, "That's right, that's right." Of course, that's my Edward G. Robinson almost. "That's right, it's the frog, Shay. It's the frog. That's right, an angel gets its wings, Shay. I'm not Jimmy Stewart anymore. I'm the frog. Edward G. Robinson, you say?" But anyway, he's like, "Yeah, that's right, that's right." But I was like, I knew that was coming, but I was looking at Donna Reed's face. Did you ever watch a movie and not look at the main character? You should try that sometime. Especially a movie the story, right? Like watch some of the secondary characters, or like with me, watch some of the babes who are like in this, in the frame, but not like in the action, right? And what they're doing and how they're acting during that scene, right? And just check them out. Look at their eyes and their facial expressions, and, the skin, if they're not like, dressed in a winter coat or something. And I was looking at Donna Reed, and I was just admiring like this, how, because at that point she was like, they said she was 18. I don't know what her real age was at that point, but she was probably like 20 something, like in her early 20s. I don't know, maybe. Maybe not, but she was around that. She was, around that age. But, that's when a woman is like really, pure as the driven snow, or as they say, or whatever. I remember I used to hang out in a college bar, and the bartenders were all these college girls. They were all 19, 20, 21, so, they were old, they were mature adult. I'm basically adult women, but young adult college girls. And sometimes, and they would dress scantily in a sense for tips. This was just an Irish pub. This wasn't some strip bar or anything like that. No, it was a legitimate bar, restaurant type of thing. A friend of mine owns it. Still does to this day. But I used to hang out at this back bar back in the days when you could smoke cigarettes, and I used to just drink there for hours upon hours. Like sometimes and I knew all these girls and stuff, and and sometimes these older guys would be in there, and they'd be like, their eyes would be like, I gotta like stop staring. You got to learn how to casually just admire the fact that these girls at this age have like the most perfect complexions and skin and bodies. It's like, that's the height of beauty in a woman, is like right at that young adulthood. There's nothing like a 19-year-old, when you think back to it. And it's so great, when I think about it, And they're crazy too. I think about my college girlfriend, because I didn't really, like in high school I was like I wasn't really out there playing the field type of thing. I didn't have a girlfriend, steady girlfriend in high school. But I went into college. I had a girlfriend. And, it was like, and she was a Midwestern type, and she liked to do the Humpty dance. And when you think about it, man, at that point, this is like a 19-year-old. I'm like, I was a little older. I was 21 because I took a year off college. I was working down in Philly and the shore and stuff. I got this ridiculous job. I told that story before. It's all in my books. If you read my early books, they're autobiographical. But it was like, here I am, this 21-year-old guy, and I've got this 19, 20-year-old girlfriend, who just like can't get enough of, sex. And it's like at that point, that's women at their prime, right? Yeah. What's this show about?
Really funny. Really funny.
I'm sorry, man.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I just got into a weird thing, I guess, for some people, but that's their problem.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
But, it's the truth. And that's humanity, and it's what life's all about. What can you say? That's it. Right? And we don't have that because of, this kind of nonsense.
Your papers, please.
Social distancing. Imagine these poor, these girls, these, and guys, 19, 20, 21, 22, maybe even up to 24, 25, some women, I had a girlfriend who was like close to late 30s or 40s, and she was hot, there's some people, she was like, she had the, I can't even think, what is the name of that actress? Sharon Stone. And she had like a Sharon Stone body, and when she was, she was like close to 40. And she was a maniac, It's like that song by that one, I don't know, can't think of the name because I'm not into that kind of pop music. But don't you wish your girlfriend was a freak like me? I think people know that song, right? And know what that song's about. Well, anyway, yeah, I had one of those. Well, I had a couple of them, but I had particularly one. She was a freak, Yeah, she was nuts. She lived for it. That was her main thing. She had a job. She was just, I hate to say it, but that relationship, I think, ultimately fell apart because I probably, it was just too much, Yeah, it was on and off for several years, and I certainly got my fill. But some women just like, they're sexual dynamos, and that's what they live for. And, and I think that much drive these woke type of people crazy because they can't even acknowledge that, or nobody would want to, nobody would want to be with them. Probably half of these, you look at some of these people with these protest signs. And that's what I talked about before. I think a lot of this stuff that's going on, it's just jealousy, right? Like their extreme hatred and weirdness and nothing, it's like the then what thing. It's like, we want this, we want that. No, you don't want any of that stuff. You know what you want? You want to be screwed. You need a good Rogering, like in that, there's something strange about Mary or whatever that movie was, Yeah, you need a good Rogering is what most of these far left woke people, right? Yeah. But social distancing, imagining the torture and torment for people of that age. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to have experienced all of that stuff in its full, glory, right? Both when I was young and later, in the autumn of my years or whatever, I don't know what you call it, Frank Sinatra. When I was 21, it was a very good year. You know, that song is so true for some of us. But yeah, you know, so that's, you know, is it jealousy? Is that what they're doing? So like they come up with these idiotic things as if social distancing and do all this stuff. I was reading today, and the WHO is going against the doctor that actually discovered the Omicron thing in South Africa, who said it is mild symptoms, and they're trying because they're paid for by, they're funded by the pharmaceutical industry and stuff. And I see Congress knock down the mandate, Biden's mandate. So it's like 3 courts knocked him down. And now Congress basically said, go screw yourself. And screw trying to start a war with the Russians. While this is the thing people don't know. And I don't want to get into heavy news on this, but just cover topical things. Taiwan is where we're getting a lot of our electronics and stuff like that from, chips. And, China's determined to take Taiwan and make it a part of China. There's intimidation going on daily right now by the Chinese army. And the U.S. is worried about the eastern little eastern part of Ukraine, which is basically part of Russia. They're Russians. You see, they're Russians. It's like Crimea. They're Russians. I went through this years ago, with people. They didn't steal, Crimea, take over, no, these were Russians. All right. They wanted, they spoke Russian. They were Russian traditions, Russian culture, and they didn't want to be part of some EU, ridiculousness. Heil, Klaus, Brussels, NATO horse shit. And it's the same with Eastern Ukraine. And that's what all this stuff's about. And it's like, it's Russia. Just like, draw the line and let Russia have. I mean, there's all the lines drawn everywhere else. It's like even in the U.S., let's just look at the clouds. There's probably kids, because people are really dumb, right? I mean, really dumb. There's probably people that think, kids that haven't been in planes and stuff. Like you see the panhandle of Texas, which I still laugh like when I think about that. It's the panhandle because it's like as if Texas is a frying pan and that's the handle of the frying pan. And how people can talk about that as the panhandle is so ridiculous. But anyway, there's these kids, probably, I don't know, tens of millions, if not, of them in the U.S. and, whatever, that probably actually think that there are those lines, these delineation lines of the states. And like if you go to Europe and other parts of the world, they actually think those lines are actually there. Yeah, that's how dumb they are. This is like on the street interviews. Where does McDonald's hamburger come from? What's, it's meat. Yeah, well, where does the meat come from? Well, it's just meat. Yeah, but the meat has to come from somewhere. Where does it come from, kid? It's meat. It's meat, man. It's meat. And it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. This is the world we live in. This is how they dumb down people, right? So yeah, they might as well put a delineation line on the little eastern side of Ukraine, and just let those Russians be Russians. End of story. it's this bunch of cock waving, missiles. The idea that some Republican senator actually said we everything's on the table, including nuclear weapons. Can you imagine if like Trump would have said that, right? In the Trump era and stuff like that, if Trump wouldn't have like come out, the press would have been on him. Are you going to like come out and make a statement, going against what this Wicca guy said about nuclear weapons? Do you agree that we should use limited nuclear weapons in Europe? It would have been a big issue. News media is not even talking about that. You know who's talking about it? Guys like Dave Rubin and a couple of people like that. Or even just covering the darn thing. Maybe Tim Pool, one of these guys. Some of those guys he has on his show. Some of his regulars. And I'm talking about it. Of course, I got 0 viewers. Remember, don't they have that thing, that clock, the doomsday clock, right? Well, once that guy made that remark, shouldn't the doomsday clock have gone to like 1 second before midnight, right? I mean, let's look that up. Let's see if anybody caught on to this, if they ever did anything. New window. Let me put this out of the way. I'll bring you along if there's anything to see. Doomsday clock. Doomsday clock. Let me put this up. We'll see. I didn't read it yet. Display capture, properties. You got to go through this ridiculous song and dance to see this stuff. I don't want your newsletter. I don't give a shit about that. This is the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. So if anybody, okay, and look at this. This is Doomsday Clock, Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, nuclear risk, climate change, disruptive technologies, COVID-19. All right. This is the 2020 current time. Let's see if they've changed it. This is your COVID wake-up call. What does that have to do with the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists? COVID has nothing to do with atomic scientists. And the last Doomsday Clock announcement, January 27th, 2021. You believe this? See what I'm trying to say? How fucked up this is. Let's see. Here's a highlight of here's something from January 18. Our advice to President-elect Biden. This is before he was even president. Right? Break the dangerous pattern of nuclear competition with Russia. So that's what these guys are saying. Right? And now when Trump was in there, who actually was like, created all this peace and was trying to make peace with Russia, Russia, they were like raising the doomsday clock. I can't believe it. Anyway, music. Essential Beat Poetry of Tony Caravan, just get my freaking music,
And the politicians. It's a predators versus sheep with the ruling class that has parties and hides.
Anyway, get that song. You should do it.
If you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me. And if you can't, you're only a nice man with a white beard, like Mother said.
Yeah, I don't even have the white beard. Well, I do have a white beard, just can't see it. But yeah, could you believe that? Right? They haven't made a statement. All right, Biden talks to Russia. Right? A U.S. senator comes out they're not denying, and they're talking about using nukes. And the scientists are talking about COVID-19, nuclear scientists. Now, as far as I know, there's nothing to do with nuclear anything, radiation or anything with COVID-19. Do you see what I'm saying? Everything is upside down, backwards, and inside fucking out. I'm sorry for saying fuck today, but it's one of those days that's like fuck, man. This picture long ago tomorrow, all right? This is where we stand, and, right now. This is where we're headed. Okay? One of the weird things is like, when this event happens, and the event that you're not even aware of, this whole solar, nova event, it's basically going to take out most of the people, near extinction event. It's going to happen probably in most people's lifetime, unless you're like in your 90s right now or something. And unhealthy and, sitting there eating junk food all day long. The people who will probably survive are the people in Antarctica in these underground bases in these different places. When it's flash frozen. And they have you should see people don't know what's going on down there. Like in the US bases and some of these other bases. They have caches of food and they have hospital resources, dental things. I mean, it's that's where you survive the thing. Yeah. It's interesting. They have dormitories and all kinds of stuff down there. Yeah. Because in the summer, so-called summer down there, is when most of the scientists go there. But there are a certain amount of people that winter over. I don't know what it is. It changes from year to year. When I was involved in expeditions and different things like that, there used to be something like maybe 1,000 scientists that would be there year round or something. On an entire continent, that was it. Maybe 1,000. I don't know what it's like now in the so-called summertime research season when everybody goes there. But yeah, the planet is cooling despite what you've heard. And of course, you understand the concept of nuclear winter too. So, and Antarctica is so far away from everything. And all of these bases have under ice, I should say. That's where they live, right? And have their food caches and, generators and get their water from, and all that stuff. They could live indefinitely down there, more or less. At least for a decent amount of time. I don't know how long, See, it all has to do with caches of food, See, eventually everyone dies. I mean, unless you have 100 years worth of food or the ability to keep creating food. Now, I do know they have greenhouses in the U.S. base down there at the pole. There are some greenhouse areas. So as long as you would have, if you didn't have too many people and you had enough greenhouse or the ingenuity to expand the greenhouse areas and to generate enough power and the lighting and whatever, you got all the water in the world because you can just melt ice, right? And you would just have to have radiation suits to just go outside to check on things, but they've got all kinds of, I mean, that's what they do down there is research. This is like just like kind of an image from Scott's expedition to Antarctica, where you drag your sledge, you know. You have to do that when you do go to the North Pole too. And the whole idea in Antarctica particularly is that the law, right? You know, it's a UN thing that, you know, it's only for research only till the year 2041. Everyone signed this agreement. I used to work for 2041. I designed the logo for it, actually. And at that point, it's supposed to be renegotiated, you know, whether or not people can actually, you know, but all the countries have, you know, the key countries have bases down there. But when you go, if you're like somebody who explores down there, you have to drag all of even your waste. You're not allowed to leave anything on, you know, in or on Antarctica, the continent, which is weird. Now, I'm not sure if they all pay attention to that, you know, particular some of these explorers and stuff. But I mean, for the most part, that's it. It's a pristine, you know, it's like an ice desert, you know, miles of ice desert. The only place when you see penguins, like, you know, kids don't know this really, but are on like the peninsula and right around the edges of the continent. There's no life on the continent of Antarctica, you know, Antarctica proper, so to speak. But there's a lot of human life, a lot of bases and stuff like that. And years ago, they used to have dogs, and of course, obviously, the dog sleds, and the dogs obviously went. I mean, it's a horrible thing when you see some of these things that, you know, some of the early explorers, you know, where they ended up eating the dogs and stuff like that, and a cat. I don't want to talk about that stuff. Crazy stuff. That's, you know, the British, you know. British. The colonist, the true colonist, you know. We get blamed for all the things that Britain did over the years, right? Yeah. People don't know that. It's like that 1619 project or whatever it is. It's like, why didn't you teach that in England? What are you teaching that in the U.S. for? It's like the ultimate prejudicial thing. It's like as if these morons in charge of this stuff, they look at us, they judge us by the color of our skin, and they assume every one of us came from like, you know, or some British colonialist, you know, or Dutch trader or something. Right? I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you, the absurdity of everything that's going on. So, you know, I guess, you know, trying to pull all this stuff together, you're probably going, where's this guy going? What's he trying to talk? He's talking about earthquakes, volcanoes. Now he's talking about Antarctica and the sun and the British traders. What the heck? What I'm trying to say is that, look, there's a 12,000 year cycle. It looks like we're in the middle of this thing, and it's happening. And every 12,000 years when it happens, it's a near extinction event. All right. This side of my mouth, I've been chewing on it, and I'm hoping it's just because I've been, you know, the raw gum. I hope it's not a problem, you know, because I just don't want to have a repeat of this, you know. Let me just get rid of the other thing so you can see it. Yeah, I don't want a repeat of that. The tooth. But No, what I'm trying to say is that, this stuff happens cyclically. There's clear signs that it's begun. And we're in the process. And, it's one of those things where there's nothing we can do to change it. Right? And that's why I say, that's why to me,
It's the holiday season.
Is, enjoy life, and hope, plan for the worst, hope for the best, but don't even worry about planning so much, because if you're talking about a near Earth, a near extinction event on Earth, prepping isn't the answer. The problem, that's not the problem. You're talking about a cataclysm of that's an extinction event, basically. And the lucky, fortunate may survive, and it may be those that happen to be in bases in Antarctica, or it may be some weird tribe in the Amazon, right, that survives. And, it takes them 12,000 years to finally get to this point again, or something close to it, or they go a different route, like I believe different previous civilizations have gone. I don't think everyone's gone the technology route. In other words, creating computers and machines made of metal. I think people explore different ways to create high civilizations, It's like if you consider even the Romans, for example. Let me I'll take this title card down for a second for the sake of it. But if you just look at, say, Roman civilization, or whatever the heck, whoever built the Serapeum with those boxes and the original pyramids, because it wasn't the dynastic Egyptians, all right? And the big pyramid, the Great Pyramid, so to speak, is clearly some kind of machine. And these obelisks are some kind of things that, I told this theory a long time ago, but it's so long ago that I'll give it to you again, since this show's kind of about this stuff. And they even have one in Washington. It's an obelisk copied from Egypt. But they find these things like in different parts of the world too. It's not just Egyptians, right? And the idea is that they are along these, like, usually these, the Earth this is like, the Earth has this like power grid, natural power grid. You have to get into Tesla, and I mean the real Tesla, not Elon Musk's company, but Tesla. And like what he was trying to do was have this energy, just free energy, okay? But it wasn't free energy. There's several ways of looking at it. One is that the Earth is a dynamo in and upon itself, spinning very fast, and so in effect, if you tap into the Earth being the generator itself, right? And you have endless electricity. And then there's the other people like the Thunderbolts Project and stuff. These people, they talk about, the electric universe, and that this whole idea of, and this, this weird concept, coincidence that planets revolve around, like, the same way we view electrons and atoms and that whole structural thing. It's crazy. Sorry, my nose is itchy and I don't know how else to do this on a live show. Blank the screen out, Sorry. And so, I had this theory that, maybe 72,000 years ago, 36,000 years ago, could be in 100, whatever. 8 years ago, would it have been, or something like that? I don't know. Or 104, I don't know, whatever. Okay? It's approximately every 12,000 years or so this stuff happens. But it wasn't within the past 12 or 24, I don't believe. I think the Sphinx is at least 36,000 years old. Same with the Great Pyramid. And a lot of these obelisk stuff. In other words, people happened upon, the so-called dynastic Egyptians happened upon that area and saw these things. Right? And we're like, what the, And then they laid claim and became like, king of the mountain. Right? And created this pharaoh system and all this stuff. It's like some of the carvings on like the Serapeum boxes and stuff are like almost, they're no way match the technology used to make those things. In fact, in many ways, they're like childlike scribblings almost. It's as if they were trying to create ownership of these things. And you've seen that in Egypt as well, is what people who have studied like the inscriptions and the depth, because we have the technology to do that now. So that these carvings and stuff you could see that they were added at a later date. Yet so-called Egyptologists still try to like say, oh, this was the tomb of such and such, and this was such and such's thing, and this was during this period. And it's like, the fuck out of here, man. Why are you lying? Right? It's the same with like these people who this climate crisis stuff. Why are you lying? Why don't you just tell people that the Earth's atmosphere is, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 0.9% argon. So 99.9% of the Earth's atmosphere isn't CO2, and CO2 is a trace gas. And, I say this all the time. It makes the trees green. It gives you vegans and vegetarians your plants to eat. All right. And in turn, those trees, flowers, and plants give us oxygen to breathe. So, in other words, this trace gas, which is 0.004%, right, is like crucial to human existence and, our survival and us thriving on the planet. Has nothing to do with the climate whatsoever. It annoys me that even the people try to like play to those people and say, well, it might have a little bit. It has nothing to fucking do with the planet. It's climate. This thing is the only thing that has to do with the fucking climate. You dumb fucks. So how did that happen? How do people get to that point where they actually believe such a bizarre freaking lie? And guys from MIT and all these people, Oxford and, Harvard, all these people, right? All these scientists, Nobel Prize winners and all this kind of stuff. And they're going, climate change is a serious thing. And you go to we looked at the atomic, the scientists, and they're mentioning climate crisis and COVID. Stick to your area of expertise. You're a nuclear scientist. You haven't updated that the doomsday clock, which you've updated all the other time since before this Dummkopf got into office. The moment he got in office, we're like 1 second away from midnight. And after what they said 2 days ago with the Russians, the idea that the U.S. is, keeping the idea of nuclear weapons against Russia on the table. Who gives a shit if if the Russians on the eastern side of Ukraine declare themselves independent of that corrupt other side of Ukraine? And they don't even want to split the country in half. It's just this like little eastern portion. The people have no idea socioeconomic geopolitics and how the world works. I was even watching Steve Bannon. He's like, well, the KGB guys are the guys in charge of Russia and stuff like that. Fuck you, Bannon. It's like, you know what I mean? Putin's a populist. He's popular in his frickin' country. You know? Way more popular than Biden and Harris and stuff like that, who've got like, did you see the so, if you believe these polls, I don't believe any polls anyway, but I mean, you know, taking in the aggregate and, you know, throughout, you know, the era of pollsters, they have the lowest ratings of anybody, you know. People don't believe them, you know. So, but that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And what I'm trying to get at with this program is that get my book. Long ago tomorrow, and it has begun. This is a recurring cycle. And it will happen in our lifetime. Or is possible. You know, it's like this. You know, a swarm of 50 earthquakes is detected, prompting seismologists to reassure Pacific Northwesterners that they're not in danger. Well, where do they get that? Maybe they're not in danger, and they're probably not in danger, but they have no right to say that. They have no evidence to say that. You know, the people in what I call, say, my camp, you know, the ones talking about this long ago tomorrow concept, which I think I wrote a song called, well, I have a lyric in there, Long Ago Tomorrow. Might be in my first book. But the idea is that the people that I follow actually have a fairly good batting average, so to speak, of predicting earthquakes. All right. Based upon mostly things that occur due to solar activity, you know, geothermal, you know, magnetic, electric universe, all that kind of crap. As opposed to these seismologists. It's like these nuclear scientists. What the fuck are they? Why do they even have the word COVID on their website? Why the fuck do they have the idea of climate on their website? The fuck does that have to do with anything? Do you see how whacked out people have got? I'm surprised they don't have the 1619 or whatever the fuck that stupid fucked up thing is on there. As if that is some effect on something. British and Dutch trading companies and colonialists and, right, colonial man. Talk to an African about the British. Talk to an Indian, a real Indian, not an American Indian, okay, indigenous, whatever you want to call, you know, the people of America, North America, South America. No, I'm talking about India as in the country of India. Talk to them about the British. All right? Teach your 1619 fucking project over in England. All right? Not here. Had nothing to do with it. We fought a revolutionary war and kicked them the fuck out of here. Like I say all the time, Independence Day is independence from England Day. All right? And then they had the fucking balls to come back, War of 1812, Star-Spangled Banners about when British attacked Washington again and tried to burn it down. And we pushed them back one more time and said, try it again, you fucks, and we'll come after you, and we'll basically level your little fucking island. You fucks. Right? I'm sorry if you're from England and you take this the wrong way, but take it the right way. You know? Fuck your ancestors. All right? Fuck you and your ancestors. Right? You know, don't fuck me and my ancestors. We built a beautiful country and saved your fucking ass in fucking World War II. You were on the verge of being fucking bombed into fucking oblivion. You fucks. You know, what a bunch of fucking cock-sucking motherfuckers that have seized power of this world. It's like that Boris fucking liar with the fucked up hair and shit. Like, what a fucking dickhead he is. So you understand, the people who came to America, you know, my ancestors and people like us, we're people who said, fuck these idiots over here and escape that fucking hellhole. You know, people want to reminisce now and look at architecture and shit. Well, that was the shit our ancestors built. And then they came over here and built a nation. All right? See, people don't even fucking understand history. They don't understand the way of the world. And this Russia. I can't believe they're resurrecting Russia. What is the media's problem with Russia? Fuck Russia. China is a problem. China, if you want to have a problem, basically go take the entire Navy and surround and park all of our, put battleships, submarines, destroyers, and basically dock all around Thailand, or Taiwan. You can go to Thailand too. All around Taiwan and just hang out there. And have shore leave in Taiwan. Indefinite shore leave in Taiwan. You know, give Taiwan some kind of like contract to build battleships for us and, you know, that kind of thing. And escort the, you know, the manufacturing of chips and stuff and other things from Taiwan, escort them across the Pacific with the military fleet. Yeah. You understand? People are like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You don't know. No, you don't know. You don't know what's going on in the world. You're dumb. People are fucking dumb. I mean, dumbed down is one thing, but I mean, people are idiots. They don't know their own history. They don't understand science. They don't understand biology, virology, the flu, right? The immune system, the human body. I mean, you know, I used to say it sometimes half jokingly when I would be the boss and just to get on the nerves of some, you know, when people would just be doing stupid stuff because I was the boss so many times at various companies. And it's that classic line, you've heard it by other people speaking it too. And I go, I'm surrounded by idiots. You know, and they'd all look up like, you know, Meerkat Manor. Yeah. I'm surrounded by fucking idiots. And that's what I feel like in this country right now. I'm surrounded by fucking idiots. I mean, what the things people believe. I mean, how could you fucking believe this shit? You know, and what's going on with fucking, you know, entertainment industry? It's just totally out of fucking control. You can't even find a decent thing to fucking watch anymore without, some kind of fucking bizarre, weird shit in it. It has no place into it and doesn't contribute to the plot. You know what I'm talking about, too. The fuck? You think about when we're at the end of the world, basically, Do some research, And I know the guy, some of the guys, I hesitate mentioning their names because they probably don't want to be associated with a guy who says fuck so much and stuff like that. But the point is, go to suspiciousobservers.org, Ben David's site, and look at his catastrophe series videos, right? Or Doug Vogt stuff, if you want to take it that way. Or heck, BP Earthwatch, if you want to go see, he's in the middle of reading some religious stuff out. And I understand Joe Rogan even read that Adam and Eve story thing. That was after I premiered that here, too. He's late to the game. Like, I don't know. You watch my show, Joe? Are you like one of those people that like come in and, or you're a little guy who works your little computer guy? Like all these people, they have like these teams to put on a live show. I don't have no fucking team, right?
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
I'll do it all myself. I don't need this fucking people.
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah. So, after all this fucking year's worth of live shows, all right, we're December 9th now. Literally a year's worth of shows every day. And not a single cocksucker, bought a fucking shirt or a fucking book. Or even a fucking mug or a sticker you could buy for like $2.95 or something. And the funniest thing about that is, like my Great Solar stuff and the Jackery and stuff, this is a bad winter already. It's fucked up. And there's power outages everywhere. There's a power outage at any given time in the United States. All right? And around the world. And I have things that would make your life, get you through those things. And not a single person's bought one from me. You people just don't get it, And you're like, save America, give money to MAGA. Build back better. Look at Biden. He's like, what kind of drugs are they giving him? Think about that. The guy has been fairly, lucid or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, the guy goes from basically like, the thing and walking on the stage like he can't find which way is, where do I go? People grabbing him by the arm and carrying him off. His wife having to be next to him. Remember that? And answer the question for him and stuff. To not taking questions. To like now coming out to the press and talking to them. So what did they do? What technology do they have? What do they do? What kind of stem cell research crap did they put in his brain? You ever watch Star Trek? Just don't let a good Star Trek reference go to waste, like I always say, Hey, Scotty, remember that one episode where they stole Spock's brain and they put that thing on him and they were able to like control him? Anyway, TC out. Don't you have a communicator? That's what the smartphone was designed after. Everything we have today was designed after Star Trek. The guy Jeffries, who was the art director, they should be a billionaire because Apple and Microsoft and everyone else stole every one of his fucking concepts, ideas, and designs. Same with Roddenberry and Jeffries together. I mean, you could throw Asimov in there, but, you know, Asimov is more the traditional space. A lot of his stuff is space stuff. And man, is Apple butchering the Foundation trilogy, you know, on Apple TV. Oh, man. They turned that into a fucked up thing. Great science fiction, and they turned it into some kind of just totally whacked out. It's like somehow they got like people who don't know anything about science fiction somehow involved in it or something. The stuff was supposed to be like mind-blowing. You know what I mean? And the amount of money that they spend, they didn't blow any mind. It's like that Star Child at the end of 2001, you know, or something, you know. It's supposed, you know, it's like, man, they can't even approach that kind of shit, you know. Of course, there's no, you know, nobody involved with the show comes close to Kubrick, you know. I am surrounded by idiots. You're insulting your viewers. You're insulting the people who, you know, how do you expect to ever get people to subscribe and follow you if you're going to insult them? I don't give a shit. Nobody's fucking following me anyway. And those who are get it. They understand what I'm talking about, right? You know, some Russian. I don't know what this Vask.tech is. You know, how's it going? You know, thanks for stopping by. Whoever you are. But you're obviously not watching. I understand how people do that. Right? You know, in other words, how does somebody like put on a chat when there's no playbacks? Right? Chat rate. So it's some kind of random thing or something like that. I don't know. It's really weird. So I don't know. I may try to, you know, for 2022, I may try to turn this show into something like evolve it into something, you know, through Rumble or something. Let's see. Let's do a little search here. I want to check something. New window. Can you live stream on Rumble? Did you mean live stream on Rumble? Rumble TV content streaming package is updated weekly with fresh content. Only requires a television set and internet connection. Once you receive Rumble TV streaming device, you can... What the fuck is that? Rumble online video platform. All you need to know. Rumble is an alternative online to YouTube. I joined a year ago. No longer watch scientific videos over YouTube. What's on it? Blah, blah, blah. My Rumble channel. I began to make a few cents on Rumble and thought I need to explore this. So this blog will help you understand Rumble. YouTube alternative. I have a Rumble channel. I just don't. Several months ago, YouTube came out with the following. It said YouTube will remove content, alleged fraud of errors, and change outcome use. Online video. What's Rumble all about? Sure descriptions. Monetizing videos. Didn't answer my question. People are worried about how can you make money on Rumble. That's the kind of society we have, right? Can I make a buck? It's like, it's like people don't understand when I put these shirts out and these all these things. It's like I'm not making any money. I don't want to make any money. If the things actually took off too much, I'd probably take them off the market because I want to stay below the poverty level. I like it this way. Freedom is fun. I don't want to be above $12,400 a year because then I'd have to file IRS taxes and shit. Pain in the ass. Tired of that. Last year was the first year I didn't pay taxes. Or file. It's not like I didn't pay taxes. I pay taxes every day when you go to the store and you do all this shit. You pay your bills. There's always taxes in it, right? They have that tax day sometime in June, or I don't know if it's approaching July now, where basically if you have a job, half your year's wages basically are to taxes in one way, shape, or form. And people don't even, aren't even aware of that. Nobody talks about that stuff anymore, right? That's when I say wage slavery. See, it doesn't matter if you're making 6 figures or something like that. Right? Or 7 figures, The idea is half your wages, one way or another, are still going to taxes. Even if you're like somebody who's got like uses tax, has an accountant and has tax loopholes. Like I know a guy who was an accountant and he got screwed over. His accountant didn't even wasn't paying attention to things and he got screwed over out of thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not like he was making $1 million. So it's like you pay your accountant to, do your taxes, and that's a tax, right? That's a tax. But a lot of people don't think of it like that, right? If you pay your accountant a couple of grand, that's a couple of grand taxes. No, I'm talking about communications, You wear a shirt, you don't know what you don't know. Or if you just want to get in the holiday spirit, like this thing here, See, I wear my own stuff. I buy it. I communicate with this stuff. Have fun. It's the holiday spirit, for crying out loud,
It's the holiday season.
Instead.
Your papers, please.
The only station that matters.
That was a real eye-opener when we went to that nuclear scientist, doomsday clock page, that they actually had that weird shit on there. They haven't updated it since before before Biden became president. All right. So what have they been doing for the past, coming up on 12 months, 11 months, say? But somebody put up COVID and somebody put up climate crisis. These are nuclear scientists. Neither of those things have anything to do with nuclear energy, nuclear weaponry, right? Do you see what I'm saying, man? It's utterly, absolute mass insanity on a global basis right now. And people have completely been either conditioned or indoctrinated or propagandized in such a way that the numbers, no wonder you can't find anybody. There's like a handful of YouTube channels out there that actually even make sense, and to talk about various issues. And then they're divided into sub-channels like, things that, because I deal with everything, right? So I'll deal with this catastrophe theory, because I'm open to it, all right? I think it needs to be discussed. I'm into the concept of the solar, influence over the solar system and our planet and the magnetic field and all that shit. I'm interested in things like, true history of the world, right? Not what's written in history books. And the idea that we don't know what we don't know. In other words, if you don't have a direct connection to a specific thing, okay, how do you know it's true? I mean, we know that like the Council of Nicaea or whatever rewrote, biblical text, and people find these other texts, things that, we know about, various scrolls. We know about the Library of Alexandria. We know about, the Vatican archives. There's constantly archaeological digs and different discoveries and all this kind of stuff. But, and we have these images and statues and structures and ruins. And yet, they all contradict, mainstream academic, thought, what they're teaching students and writing in textbooks. People just, the idea of the inquisitive mind, right, is like, that's what banning is today. You're not allowed to ask a question. I mean, they don't care. It's like, the people that talk about a specific thing, that's not even it. They don't even want you to ask the question. That's the weird thing. Really weird. And so when you're in a state like that, that's definitely civilization's end. Right? So, if you're going to stand there and argue with me and say, when I say Western civilization has fallen, or this is a former United States, well, don't question me saying that. I question you, you give me some evidence that Western civilization hasn't fallen, or that this isn't the former United States. Because there's nothing, I see nothing, no signs of life, of Western civilization. I just see idiocy. And the few people that, come out and say a thing here and there. Yesterday or the day before, I said, it's hard to gauge how many people out there actually are still like aware of things. Is it 1 million? Is it tens of millions? Is it, on a global basis, is it hundreds of millions of people who like actually are still aware of, deal with reality? The last drop of coffee is the hottest now that I have this $9 heater, coffee warmer. But, I'm wondering, man. I wonder. I wonder if it's even, if it's more like maybe millions, just in the millions on a global basis, out of 8 billion people. I heard somebody else yesterday say 7 billion people on the planet. There's not 7 billion people on the planet. New window. See, this is the thing. I was doing this when people used to say 6 billion. World population. It's 7.9 billion already. And that was in November. Okay? All right. And I heard some guy yesterday who, respectable character. And he said 7 billion. With 7 billion people. No, it's 8 billion people. It's 7.9 and change. It's going to be 8 billion people. November it was 7.9 and change. It's like there's 8 billion fucking people now on the planet. I mean, do you understand that? Like, comprehend that amount? People don't get it. So, out of 8 billion freaking people, how many people you think are even aware of some of this stuff I talk about? And despite the fact that I get into some of this, profanity or talk about, beautiful women or stuff like that. It's like, so what? That's life. Yeah, it's like people lose their humanity, right? The idea. I mean, what are you living for? What's the purpose of life, right? People don't get that. If you're a human being, I was hearing people talking about transhumanism like that was like a big thing now. I forget where I was on that. Like, transhumanism, there's a lot of, it's like transhumanism is dead. That's another thing. Before I end this show, I got some time to talk about this. Transhumanism is like yesterday's news. I mean, like a decade or two ago. That's Ray Kurzweil type of guy who thought he was going to live forever, ended up having a fucking heart attack and shit. He's still around, works for Google, Alphabet, or whatever. But like these guys who are building computers that can like win at a game of Go, and they think that's like AI, and they're going to like put their consciousness into some kind of machine, right? Or people that misunderstand like Elon Musk's idea of putting this thing inside the head. I heard someone actually saying that. This was the person who was talking about transhumanism. Forget who it was. But I couldn't believe that they were so like uninformed. The whole idea of that Neuralink thing is to basically to use it to help people who can't walk, who have handicaps and stuff, to activate portions of their brain, through electronic stimulation so that people can do things who don't have the use of their arms, their legs, even their eyes, and certain things like that. All right? That's transhumanism today. It's just basically, it's medical science. It's no different than a prosthesis, advancements in a prosthesis. You could say that that's transhumanism because you could put a sophisticated arm on someone who lost their arm, right? But the concept of transhumanism, like in a sci-fi world, cyborg concept and stuff, that's long dead. See, this is the thing, because the news media are filled with such dopes, and people on YouTube are just YouTube millionaires in it to make a buck. They don't understand. Like, they're not aware of, like, not only do they not understand socioeconomic geopolitics, right? But they also aren't up. They're like 10 years, at least 10 years behind, like where things are. No, the current state of affairs in what took over transhumanism is life extension through biology. These people that are using this NAM, NM, what is it? NAM or NME, NME and resveratrol and these various mixtures. Sorry for that, whatever it was.
Really funny. Really funny.
But that's the new thing. So it's like the people don't even understand. Headphones are getting into the ears again. No, they're into life extension through biology now. Not transhumanism into machines. That's and it's robotics, right? So robotics as servants of man, but robotics not in the sense of some like Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator 2 robotics. They're just basically, the Tesla robot is the prime example. If you watch the introduction, that video, which I'm sure you could find on the internet, where they introduced it, Like, people don't even get and grasp that kind of thing. It's like Elon Musk tried to explain to people and was totally misquoted recently, like literally very recently, within the past week, that he was trying to explain. He goes, no, he goes, the Tesla car is the most advanced robot on the planet right now. You know, is the most advanced like AI robot. And so the reason they came up with the idea of creating a Tesla robot like that looked like a human that could be a worker and, you know, do these menial tasks that humans have to do was because they realized they had the technology already existed in their cars, was developed for their cars. So that it's just a matter of basically, you know, repackaging it into a thing that walks on two legs and has two arms and, you know, and can lift a box and whatever. I told you before, I haven't talked to Elon Musk, but my belief is that I see a car, an autonomous Tesla vehicle pulling up to your house, a Tesla robot getting out of that car, opening the trunk or the back, the hatchback or whatever the heck it is, however it's designed, and walking up your stairs or walking up to your porch and dropping off your package, or knocking on your door and having you sign for your registered package if you have to sign for it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Or these things loading trucks in warehouses and things like that. Menial tasks. Right? Or maybe even sitting in the front of a Tesla cab ride. Right? Because, you know, this Uber thing, man, in my town, I told you I got ripped off by an Uber guy. Not like ripped off, but I was able to get an Uber ride to actually to the tooth thing. But when I called to get the Uber to pick me back up, even though I told the guy and tipped him in advance, he completely disappeared, and the Uber app said there's currently no Uber drivers available in your area. Fuck Uber, right? Fuck Uber. You know, I get these emails like, hey, join, you know, get this, you know, they all have these like, join this, pay extra to get this, get that, all kinds of crap. A fucking joke. No, what'll happen is there'll be like a Tesla, you know, cab service, and it'll have one of those robots in the front of it. Yeah. Because that'll be the first stage. See, I haven't talked to him about it, but if he's smart, and I think he is smart. I mean, we can't argue about Elon Musk being one of the most intelligent guys around. That the people are going to have a problem with driverless cars, a lot of people, because it's scary. And particularly like in cities and in cabs, what we call a cab or an Uber or something like that. You know, it's like, I don't know if I want to, this is scary. But they'll feel much more comfortable if there's if there's somebody at the front wheel, a robot. You see, a humanoid looking robot. You know, even though it looks like clearly looks like a robot, you know. But I mean, it's the idea that it's there, and it's, you know, maybe his hand's even on the wheel. And it's a secondary even backup. Might be a transitional thing. But yeah, transhumanism, man, that's dead. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not so much de-evolution, you know, that happened back in the 90s, 80s. Devo had that one called, you know, We Are Devo. No, we're at a point of where society is so dumbed down, literally dumbed down. I hate to say that, you know, but I mean, that people are just downright stupid, and they believe, and our academics and our professors, people with PhDs were taught by professors who were morons and were reading from textbooks that was already revisionist history. you know? And when I say history, I don't mean like history as in like the War of 1812, which people don't even would know what it was about. No, I mean science, biology, history of mankind, history of everything, right? The theory of everything. Einstein, right? It's like people have no fucking clue. So you go to an Ivy League school now, and you've got some guy, some professor with tenure, and he's a fucking moron. You know, it's like this guy, Lex Fridman. You ever watch his podcast? You know, he's one of these guys that believes in like climate crisis, and he'll talk about stuff like that. It's like, you fucking idiot, Lex. He's an MIT guy. He's in AI and stuff like that, right? It's like, you know, popular guy, YouTube millionaire, fuck, right? And it's like, man, don't you get it? Don't you fucking get it? 0.004 CO2. Aren't you? You're at MI fucking T, right? Do you know the composition of the Earth's atmosphere? Do you know what trees breathe? Do you understand fungi and the connection of fungi to plant life and trees and the consciousness and that kind of thing? Do you understand? Really, you're an AI code guy and all that shit. Do you really understand GPT-3 and GPT-4? Right? And this is the type of people that people are looking at and like, well, you know, was watching him for a while. I can't even stomach the guy anymore. Because he would have good guests on, but he would make an idiot of himself, and he would like kind of laugh at, like, almost like his guest would say something like profound, really interesting, and you'd really want to, like, okay, let's go that way. You know, let's get Guy to get into that, you know? And he'd be like, you know, like laughing it off or like some kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you fucking fool, man. Your guest was just getting into the good stuff, and you didn't grasp it. You know, it's like Joe Rogan tries to be like please everybody type of guy, right? The Oprah for guys, used to call him. Like he won't commit to something. It's like there aren't two sides to every story. You know, this is the whole thing. It's like everybody's brought up on this black and white, Republican, Democrat, red, blue, right? Left, right, whatever. You know, conspiracy theory, fact, right? Whatever. Climate crisis versus polluter, or, you know, vaxxer, anti-vaxxer. Everything's got to be polarity. There are some things that there is no other side to. Certain things are just the way they are. All right? It's like these people make apologies for these like smash and grab thugs, right? No, that's a crime. That guy's a criminal, should be locked up in jail. All right? Okay? End of story. There's no other side to it. Yeah, but he's like a victim of this and he lives in a poor... Everybody lives in a fucking poor neighborhood, including fucking me. My fucking roof leaks. It's going to rain this weekend. I have to go up in my fucking attic and empty fucking cat litter boxes that I have strategically located underneath leaks and dump them out the window, because if we get an all-day rain on Saturday or something like that, the rain's going to come down and it's going to drip on my fucking forehead like it did one time. All right? I live below the fucking poverty line. I'm not smashing, grabbing shit. I bought Christmas presents for family members and friends because I sacrificed my, things that I could have bought for myself. Fuck you. Yeah, these people, you don't understand the way they live. Yeah, right. They just went out and stole, $100 shoes and $200 dresses and, electronic things that, I don't have. I don't have a fucking cell phone that fucking works. So I can't afford one. People won't even buy a fucking $18 fucking shirt from me, or a fucking whatever, $9.95 book. So fuck you. There is only one side to most stories, and that is the truth. You see? Something the media doesn't understand. We're going to be fair and balanced. There is no fair and balanced. There is only the truth. You report the truth. The La Palma volcano erupted. There's no other side to that story. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry for you religious people that take offense to that. Look it. 50 earthquakes hit Oregon coast. That's a fact. You know?
This is really funny.
And that's a belch. You know, Jesus. I mean, these people are go ahead. And, you know, if you have a problem with that.
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
You know? Man.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Fact. Facts are facts. A thing happens, it happens. Okay? All right? Two sides to every story. Fair and balanced. Left and right. Republican, Democrat. There's no such fucking thing. Elections. All right? Look, you have a corporatocracy. All right? This country is a corporate fucking tocracy. All right? It's run by big tech, big data, big pharma, big ag, Wall Street. The military industrial complex is fucking real. All right? Wall Street, the central bankers. You know, this stuff isn't conspiracy theory. It's just fact. Right? 0.004 CO2 is a fact. 99.9% of the Earth's atmosphere is not CO fucking 2. And if it was 0.005, it'd be better. If there was more CO2, the better. We are a carbon-based life form living in a carbon-based civilization. All right? That's a fact. There's not another side to that story. You can't build back better and rebuild the infrastructure without using carbon-based fuels. And when it's cold in the northern latitudes in winter and the southern latitudes in their winter, okay, you need fossil fuels to heat the homes. There is no other side to the story. Well, we could build. There's no more room for windmills. Do you ever see these places? They filled about every available space, and now the things are breaking down, catching fires, killing tens of thousands, if not millions of birds worldwide, destroying the beauty of the planet Earth, of Gaia, right? It's like these people that want to eliminate CO2 from the planet, and they're vegans and vegetarians. Well, you better get used to eating cows and pigs, because without CO2, you're not going to have any vegetables to eat, you dumb fucks. There isn't two sides to the story. Right? People are fucking idiots, man. I haven't done one of these in a while where I just got off on this kind of like weird rant, you know. And I'm sure for some people it's like,
this is a nightmare. Must be a nightmare.
Fuck you. You know, if you're triggered by something, you can't deal with the truth. You know?
Oh, no.
Yeah, right. That's, you know. Anyway.
Good morning.
That's enough of this shit. I've had it. Buy a fucking something or other. Prove yourself. Prove yourself. Buy it now. Get it in time for the holidays. You know, it's the
holiday season.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Maybe I won't yell at you so much. But, you know, Jesus,